All right, everybody, welcome to the next math lesson. Today we're going to continue our work with subtraction, our art of taking apart or taking away. We're going to work with some word problems today, and we're going to try to make our own equations, our own subtraction problems based on, again, that practice of listening and trying to create a little picture of math in our head. For this one, we are going to need a page out of your book. We're going to need page, let's see, this book right here. It's going to be this page right here. It says 117 down here at the bottom. It's got a little blue hammer on it. Up here it says subtraction, writing equations, take from, and essentially it's got a bunch of different pictures on it that we're going to use to kind of tell ourselves subtraction stories and solve at the end. So I'll kind of show you how to do that at the end of the video. I made us a little picture up here on our board so we can kind of start talking about what sorts of things we're going to talk about, or what kind of subtraction problems you're going to run across, and how the language tells you what to do with it, okay? So I kind of made a picture that we can just sort of look at and tell ourselves a story as to what's happening. Again, I've got the minus sign right here, straight line across. It means we're going to subtract or take away from something. Equal sign right here means that we need to have the same amount of stuff over here as we do over here. So it reads blank minus blank equals blank, okay? So when you're doing subtraction problems of this type, you want to start with how many things you know there are altogether. That's going to be your biggest number, and that's the number that you want to take away from. You don't want to start with a smaller number because then you'll go into negative numbers, and negative numbers are a thing that you won't get into for another 2 years, I think, maybe 3 years before you get into that. But it's a while, so don't worry about that. You want your biggest number at the first spot, this first spot in the subtraction problem, and then you want to take away from there. So we want to look at our pictures. These are all frogs in a lake. We want to start with all the frogs in the lake that we have. Not just the ones here and here, but we want to start with all the frogs as our big number that we want to take away from, okay? So I've got this picture here, so I want to count them first. That's going to be my first step to figuring out what goes in this number right here, or box right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's my big number, 7. There are 7 frogs hanging out with each other, okay? That's my first sentence in my story. 7 frogs are hanging out one day. 2 of those frogs jump away. So I got them out here. I put their legs a little bit pointing down to show you guys that they are taking off. They're out of here. They're leaving, okay? So we've got 7 frogs right here that are all playing. That's the big group. 2 of those frogs say, I'm done playing for the day. I got to go home. I'm getting yelled at if I don't make it home at time, so I'm out of here, right? They're going to jump away. 2 frogs jump away. That's going to be my number that I'm taking away. Those 2 are leaving, so I'm going to take away them as frogs that are still there. So now we read our subtraction problem. It says 7 minus 2 equals blank. So if these 2 go away, and let's say they're gone, then we're looking for how many frogs are still playing today, okay? And that's going to be whatever is left over. We've taken away those 2 from our big 7 of frogs. We took away 2 of them. We took them away and they left. And now whatever's left over is going to be our answer. So we can just count that once we take those 2 frogs away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frogs are still playing today. So now our subtraction problem reads like this. 7 minus 2 equals 5. And that is a true fact. I know it's a true fact because I know that when you turn those things around and you do 5 plus 2, if I have 5 fingers and I have 2 fingers and I add those together, those are going to equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know that 5 plus 2 equals 7. So I know that 7 minus 2 is going to equal 5. That is a turnaround fact for you. Use the same numbers, but this is an addition version. This is the subtraction version. So I'm going to set up another one of these. I got to pause it to do that so I can draw a new set of frogs. And then we'll do another frog story, and then we'll kind of look at our page that we're working on. So give me 1 second to get another drawing set up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got another drawing set up. I got another problem set up for you guys. I want you to go ahead and start looking at it right away and thinking about what story is this asking. Again, we want to start with a big number, the biggest number we can make. And we're going to take some of it away and see what's left over for this type of problem. So the biggest number we're going to be able to make is how many frogs are playing together, okay? That's going to be your clue. How many frogs, I'm going to ask you how many frogs are playing together to make our first sentence in our story. To do that, we count all the frogs. So the frogs that are up here, as well as the frogs that are down in this particular area right here. I feel like a weatherman. I'm pointing to all the different parts behind me. So that's going to give us our biggest number. So we'll start right there. Let's count all of our frogs first and foremost. So we'll count them all. We're going to start right here for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frogs. There are 8 frogs and they're out to play. So that's our first sentence in our story. So if I had a question for you, I'd be like, 8 frogs went out to play. That's how we'd start our problem today. And that's going to go in our first little box right here, the number 8, okay? So we're starting here. We're going to take away all these frogs that decided that they're done playing today. They're jumping away. They're out of here. So we're going to look at just these first for this next box. 1, 2, 3, 4 frogs decided to go home. Okay, so that's why they're jumping away right here. 4 frogs decided to go home. That's going to be our next number. This 4 right up here are leaving. So now our problem reads 8 minus 4 equals blank. Right now the blank is going to be the frogs that are left hanging out in our pond. For that we can just count them because we know that these frogs are already on the way out. 1, 2, 3, 4 frogs. Okay? So now our sentence reads 8 minus 4 equals 4. And we know that that's true because it's turnaround fact. We know that 4 plus 4, these two numbers, when we add those together are a double. I've got 4 here and I've got 4 here. If I count them all, it should equal 8 if it's a turnaround fact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that was correct. I know that this subtraction problem was set up correctly. Essentially, this is what you're going to be doing with your page that you're working on today. I'll show it to you. Your page that you're going to be working on today has got a bunch of different pictures. And what you want to do is you want to figure out the question that it's asking you. I'm going to turn up some lights so you can see this book. I'm going to pause this real quick so I can do that and grab my pencil, and then we'll work through a couple of these pages. All right, so I got your book, I got my pencil, I'm already here. We're going to do the exact same thing with these particular pictures. You want to look at them, start with how many things there are as your first box, and then look at how many you're trying to take off for your second box, okay? So on this first box here, it's already got our 7 minus 2 filled in for us. The 7 comes from how many birds there are all together, so you just count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 birds. So the 7 goes right here. That's all the birds. 2 of these guys look like they're flying south for the winter. They're out of here. So that's going to be your second number that you're taking away. Okay? So once these guys are gone, once they go off the screen altogether, you're looking to find out how many are left hanging out. And that's going to be your final number. That's your answer to a subtraction problem. So this one is going to be just count the birds on the fence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in this particular problem, your 5 is going to go in this little box. 7 minus 2 equals 5. The second one that I'll show you guys to do, and then you guys kind of on your own try to figure out what these stories are trying to tell you. We're going to start by counting every single ladybug there is. That's going to give us our biggest number. So we count the guys on the leaves and the guys that are taken off for the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 ladybugs hanging out one day. So we put our 10 in here. 10 minus something means we're looking at the ladybugs that take off. They're out of here. They're going home. They're not going to be here anymore. If we take them away like that, that's going to be our answer. But first and foremost, how many are taking off? So let's count those. 1, 2, 3, decide to go home. So now we have 10 minus 3 equals blank. Our blank is going to be all the ladybugs that are still hanging out. The ones on the leaves, we count those next, and that'll be our answer here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now our problem that we created is 10 minus 3 equals 7. What I want you guys to do for the rest of these, start by counting the whole amount of things. So count all the frogs here to make your first number. Count your leaping away frog to make your second number. And then count all the frogs still hanging on the log for your third number. For the other ones, I want you to just kind of figure out, see if you can figure out which numbers go where. Take a picture of what you do, send it into your teachers so they can see how you're feeling about subtraction. Remember to tell yourself a story. Just tell yourself the story about what's going on in that picture. How many chickens are hanging out? Well, 2 of them are walking away. How many chickens are still left to play? Make sure you're doing that when you're trying to figure out what these are trying to ask you to do, and that'll help you out a whole bunch. Have fun, do some subtraction, and we'll see you next lesson.